respected men. Today I'm going to talk about Sir Derek Walcott. He was a West Indian poet and playwright. No doubt he was an outstanding writer. As a part of St. Lucia's Independence Day celebrations in February 2016, he became one of the first knights of St. Lucia's order, granting him the title of Sir. And after St. John Perse, he became the second Caribbean who won the Nobel Prize. Derek Walcott won the Nobel Prize in 1992 due to his literary work or literature, and Homerus, his epic poem, has a basic and major role in the achievement of this milestone of his career. And the Nobel Committee described Walcott's work as the poetic aura of the great luminosity sustained by historical vision and the outcome of multicultural commitment. As Walcott's background was multicultural and multinational, such as Africans, Latins, and related to a history of Babylonians. So, the best examples of the depiction of Caribbean inheritance can be seen through the Walcott's poetry. And then something new which we find in his writing is his work about the Caribbean culture, traditions, and orthodox actions and customs. And the novelty we find in this way, what about the humanity, relation of humanity with the history and nature. And one of the most significant thing of his writing is, which we do not find in the others, that is, he wrote about Methodism and spirituality from his beginning. And the proof of this writing about Methodism we can observe through his poems, such as a poem, one of his poems, like a letter from Brooklyn. In this poem, Walcott discusses about his father's religion and faith and influence in his father's life, and as well as his own life. And another poem, St. Lucia's First Communion. In this poem, Walcott offers a critical assessment about the religious traditional practices of Catholicism, where he observed the children as an innocent victim of the institutionalized religion. And Walcott expressed the paradoxes and complexities of this legacy through his poetry. And at last, most importantly, Walcott explored the Caribbean and its history in the colonialist and post-colonialist context. That's it.
Assalamu alaikum. I am Muhammad Saqib Ali and I am going to explain political views of Mr. Derek Walcott. Mr. Walcott was one of the greatest post-colonial writers in the English. He was born on an island where there was a still British colony, and he had both black and white ancestry. Liberalism is often thought an unpoetic creed because it has so much to do with refusals, and that is refusals of dangerous political myths, of irrational passions, and of seductions of violence. But Mr. Walcott was the great poet of liberalism. They came to America for various reasons, and that reason includes personal, political, and economical. And they had no allegiance about the country. That is Mr. Walcott, who wrote about American racism with a cold eye. Still, this poet flourished here because there is a deep compatibility between their poetics of freedom and the traditions of liberty. Walcott's poetry was less centered with the breaking down of colonial structures materially. This thing investigates that the political merges with the literary works in the Derek Walcott poetry. Now, using two poems, A Latin Premier and The Light of the World as a primary examples, Walcott explores the colonial wounds of Caribbean regions and the various consequences of colonialism for the forging of Caribbean's contemporary identities. He proposes a model of Caribbean that values racialism and the cross dialogues between the cultures, including perhaps problems and the European cultural traditions as fertilizing. For Walcott, poetics creative. Now we can see that Marquis' political activism matched his political messaging in the novels. For the Walcott, you cannot separate culture from the politics, and therefore decolonization of culture must also mean a decolonization of the politics.
My name is Shazad Baloch, and I am going to present the Derek Walcott poetry themes. What I am going to present is race and racism. Race and racism is a theme explored by Derek Walcott. Being black in a racist world and the relationship between black and white. The second theme in my list is religion. Derek Walcott was raised in a Methodist religion. In his poem, A Letter from Brooklyn, he discussed about his father's faith and religion. The next theme is history. Some poets focus on the fantastical, others on the literary. But much of Walcott's theory is dominated by events, people and places in the history, like the poems of Derek Walcott, The Sea in the History, The Map of the New World, and the Old New England. The next theme is city versus country. In his lifetime, Walcott was a vocal critic of what he saw ongoing on the Caribbean, specifically at Lucia, his birthplace. The next theme is love and the end of the love. Derek Walcott has married 3 times, and many times his poems he's written deal with the theme of love. The Young Wife, in which Walcott explores the manner death and a life ending. The last theme I'm going to describe is death. Derek Walcott's father dies when the poet was only 1 year old. But his death had a profound effect on his poetry. Walcott also expresses a positive view on the themes of death and grief. That's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Viran Mas, and the part that I have presented is about the references of the writings of Derek Walcott. It is now clear that the motivation behind his writing was the multicultural movements. And first of all, I will discuss the poem that became the reason of his Nobel Prize, Omeros. It is Omeros, and Omeros is the representation of history and myth. And the background story of this poem is the story of Saint Lucia, with the reference to the history of war and slavery. And he relates the mythical references with the common people of Saint Lucia, as the Western culture and their lifestyle was prevailing. The people of Saint Lucia and their lifestyle. So for the preservation of beliefs and values of society, Derek Walcott wrote this poem and tried to revive the tradition of the society, and through this poem to preserve the Caribbean culture. This is evident through the themes of the poem that it is about the racism and the selfishness of the society, and about the differences because of the races. Then there comes another poem, Apartheid from Africa, which was written in 1962. It was about the Mau Mau uprising in Kenya, when guerrilla war was started against the British people, and he belonged to the culture. As he belonged to both African and American culture, so he was feeling like divided identity. And we find the intertextuality of this poem with another play that is also written by Derek Walcott. The name of this play is Dream on the Funky Mountain. in which Macaque is the main character and he is exploring the self-identification throughout the play. Macaque isolates himself from the other people because of the low society and its selfishness and racism. This play also reflects the unwanted results of the colonialism on the people of Caribbean. Then there comes another poem that is Letter from Brooklyn, and it revolves around the Methodism. It was explained earlier by Murtaza, and Derek Walcott belonged to the Protestants, and we all know about the wars of Protestants and Catholics. And another very famous writer, W.B. Yeats, said about his poetry that his poetry is but the constant stitching and re-stitching of the old themes. Now we will quickly move towards another poem that is Saint Lucia First Communion, and it is about the religion and children as they were sent forcefully to the religious institutions in their childhood, but Derek Walcott wants them to live a life of their own will. And the last but not the least poem is Pentecost, which is about the nature of belonging. Its main theme is the power of Caribbean land to affect the souls. That was all from my side. Thank you so much.